Hey everyone, Wildman here. I haven't done a video in quite some time, so it's good to be back talking with everybody. And today we're going to kind of take a tour around the Nepal part of my Renee Feu adventure park. And as you could see, the mountains of Nepal are looming out in the background beyond the sign. But I'm just going to kind of zoom out again here. You can see the park is totally decimated right now because I have to delete everything that I'm not videoing so that the frame rate is somewhat tolerable. Even with my new computer, this is the first video I'm making with my rebuilt, updated computer. But as you can see, it's you'll still see it's lagging a little bit here and there. But just to kind of give a layout of the land, just to remind everybody, the entrance to the park is right here, and then this area here is where my port of entry is, which you've seen videos in the past about. Over in this corner is the Africa section. You can see just pathways pretty much left right now in it. And crossing over the river, we have Nepal. And it's kind of an interesting Nepal because it's actually an island, as you can see. Just the way the layout of the land has kind of allowed itself to make this happen. And this is where Nepal landed. Let's just kind of show you a couple ways how to get onto the island. So coming in from Africa, there's a bridge right here that enters into the mountain or cavern part of Nepal. You can see it says welcome to Kathmandu, and eventually, let me get the angle right here, this bridge will lead over to the Egypt part of the park, which I'm building right now, so we'll be seeing that next in the series as I post updates for you. We will zoom around to the west side of the island. There are two entries over here. Well, actually it's one entry. This is where you will come in from what will eventually be, I believe, Southeast Asia will end up in this area. You cross a bridge, go through some structures. You could go either left or right. There's a bridge to the right that's a little smaller, and there's a more hefty bridge to the left. The third way you could get onto the island, this will be from what I'm calling the subcontinent or India. There's a bridge walkway that will bring you in from the north side as well. So let's just zoom back out again, and we'll kind of take a little bit of a tour of the island. One other thing I want to point out is that there's a number of transport rides that make their way either through or around this section of the park. So there is a chairlift ride right here that comes from Africa, kind of passes through Nepal briefly, and will eventually go over here to Southeast Asia, where you could get off and take a path into Nepal. On the north side of the island, we have a gondola ride that will start in Egypt, go all the way over to the west side of the park, as you could see. But it does, as you could see, pass by and passes through this part of the park. It goes under a structure, and it goes through some caves and over the rocks and so on. The other main way to get to this island from transportation mode is by the adventure boats. So we have the red line, which is right here. If I could click on it, there we are, the red line. So there's a boat station that eventually would drop you off over here in Egypt. You could then take the pathway to Nepal. But other than that, it just passes by. You could see some of the scenery, and then it heads off back over to this part of the park. The other line that goes in and around the island is the green line. So you could, if you get on in the Africa station, it will travel out and around Africa and eventually make its way along the north edge of Nepal, where there's a boat station up here in the northwest corner of this land to get off and see your adventures. Then that green line continues through a canyon of sorts and goes back off into the rest of the park as well. And the third boat line is the blue line. So this comes from the subcontinent area, kind of travels around the outer edge of Nepal, again through some canyons, and then makes its way over into the Southeast Asia or so. Let's take a look at some of the details of this land. Coming in across the bridge from Africa, like I said, you go up a ramp and you head into what is a cavern of sorts inside the mountain, and I call this mountain Mount Raven, which you'll see why later. And directly inside here we have a flat ride. It's the whip ride. I called it the Yeti Ice Party, and as you can see, there is a number of icicles hanging here. It's kind of like a big ice cave, and the dance lights or whatever kind of fly around as the ride makes its way with the people, the guests in it. As you come out of the cave, the ice cave, there's an inside cavern walkway. To the left here we have the Yala Coffee Cafe. So again, just kind of look at it, it kind of crosses out over a bridge back outside here where there's a coffee shop. And on this side of the walkway there are some benches where you could sit down, relax, and have your cup of coffee. After you leave the cavern, you enter into what I call the Kathmandu area. This is kind of the bustling street market of Kathmandu. First on this side, there's some restrooms out in a water wheelhouse or mill house, I guess it would be called. Flower market, just some decorating oriental type walls right here. And I gotta say, I did kind of use some creative liberty, used a lot of oriental, either Chinese or Japanese architecture along with Nepal looking architecture, but again, I'm using a lot of what's out in the workshop for this park just to save some building time and make things go a little quicker. So I took that liberty, and you guys will just have to deal with it. But looking at this part of the park, I really like the way this looks with the water coming out, going into the sluice box, and making the water wheel turn. This is where the boats come by. Over here, sorry, my dog's barking in the background if you hear that. There's a restaurant. It's a multi-level restaurant. You could go to the lower level, the middle level, or there's like a VIP section up on the very top. And you can see that's kind of hanging on the cliff. There's some little, tribal type hut down here, fishing hut along the edge of the river, and another little memorial out on the rock point that you can see here. We'll jump back up and kind of look at this flat ride. This is what, a ride I call Condor's Nest, and it's kind of like in the back alleys of Kathmandu. So when you get in the queue, you got the normal queue right here, and then there's a fast pass queue that kind of goes down this little themed alleyway before it comes back into the ride load area. And just kind of get a view from up here. You can see from up on this Condor's Nest, you get a pretty good view of this land from this area. Moving back over this way, here's the main bustling street of Kathmandu. I don't know, I guess I could count how many signs I have here. There's maybe like 40 signs I put in, if not more. These are all billboard signs one way or another, and I use different methods to hang them, either by post or by cables or ropes. I have some flags behind the signs. That's why you'll see some fluttering of color on some of them sometimes. And I did that mainly just to get the flagpole, to get some variety on the signs. When some of these signs are pictures I took at Disney's Animal Kingdom, some of them are pictures I found on the internet, but I tried to make them all very Nepal writing, stuff you would see in a bustling street in Nepal. The buildings on both sides are actually from the workshop, or at least like this was from Bullet Head. On the left side here and the right side, this was a pirate string of buildings that someone had put out there. I highly manipulate them because this was just like a faux front, and I put a lot of the extra windows, billboards on it to get the textures, change the shape or the angles, move some of them forward or back just to get some variety in the way the street looks. And then I had to build all the backs of these buildings because there were no backs to them at all. So you travel down the street, and right here is the entrance to the Mount Raven Temple flat ride. So you go through the little doorway, and there's a queue line that climbs up some stairs where you have a raised platform for the temple flat ride. And it's really cool because it, takes you way up, almost as high as the mountain peak, gives you a great view. And I also like the way it's kind of set up in like the foothills of Mount Raven. And when you exit the ride, you come back out into the main street area again here, continue down into a little bit larger of a plaza. Let's just swing around. Here's the other bridge that comes in from Southeast Asia. There's also a back alley guests could walk down here to get past the street if the street's too busy. There's a little stable area here at the end of the street, and there's some restrooms, as you can see from the sign, actually in the stables. Sorry about all the zipping around. This here walkway is what, kind of like what I call Cliffhanger Point. You walk down this walkway, and there's two cliffhanger items here. One's the cliffhanger ride, which I kind of designed like the rotor. It's basically the roundup ride inside that just spins like a rotor. I mean, it was just basically to get a ride in this building with the concept of it being like a cliffhanger ride. And also called Cliffhanger because you can see these buildings are up on cliffs. And this is the Cliffhanger Hotel. Again, a lot of very popular with the guests for whatever reason. They really like going to the hotels. So that's the Cliffhanger Hotel, also up on a cliff. While we're over here, this is where the boat station is for the Green Line. So when you disembark from this, you walk up this stairwell, and then there's kind of a back trail. It's a little bit more rustic than the bustling street of Kathmandu. But as you come back on this trail, again, a little bit more rustic than the main street though. Here's kind of a restaurant called the Raven Inn. And it's a restaurant, but this is where the queue is also for Raven's Wing, which is a roller coaster that goes up through the mountain. Queues all inside the building next to the restaurant. There's some outside queue, and then eventually gets to load station. It's kind of hidden back here behind the restaurant. Just kind of take a quick look at the roller coaster. I'll detail it in other posts so you can see it there, but it goes up, it goes in and around the mountain. There's one section kind of down in here where you could see there's a lot of where the track crisscrosses over itself back and forth quite a bit. There are some helix turns. There's one here. There's another one up here. It's a little bit more sharper of an angle, and then actually inside the mountain here there's a full 360 loop that you go through as well. So you can see I did some snow terrain painting on the mountain here to make it look a little bit more icy. I also tried to use some forced perspective where I put bigger trees on the bottom, and then I did smaller trees or sank the trees in more up towards the top so that they looked smaller. So from looking at it from down below, again, I used some forced perspective to make it look like the mountain's bigger than it really is. That's why the mountain has a very sharp peak at the top as well. Again, trying to use forced perspective so when you look from below, it looks like it stretches way higher than it really is. So hopefully that effect works okay. Also, one thing I kind of like, someone put this Yeti out in the workshop, so as they come around the ride, the Yeti will yell at them. So and other than that, that's pretty much it on this land. So I hope you like it, and I will put this out on the workshop once I'm kind of done reviewing it, all the different parts and the details about it. I'll put this park out there just like you see it here with just this section, so you could explore it and ride the rides and copy and paste whatever you need from this section and use it in your own parks. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and click like if you liked it, and I guess that's it, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.